Let's get ready to rumble.
Yes, we're back. It is episode 109 of the Hibs Ramble. It's your host tonight, Liam, and I'm joined by Mr. Marc Duncan. It feels like I'll need to check outside. I think it's a blue moon because you're never on here. How are you, mate?
I'm good, mate. I know it's been a while. I've been busy, but, we're back. We're back at it.
Busy, but we're back now. Now, listen, we've kind of got skin in this game after the weekend. We were at hospitality for the Ross County game, so we're kind of trusting the Ramblers for most of our insight tonight, because we may or may not have had a couple of jars on Saturday, and our memory of the game might be slightly impeded. But all in all, did you enjoy your day at hospitality on Saturday?
I've got to be honest, it wasn't actually the best hospitality, like compared to last time. On the day we had a few complaints about service and all that. The food wasn't great. The drinks were just terrible. The pints had clearly been sat there for a long time because they were all dead. But do you know what? The main thing is we got a win. We got the 3 points, which we always desperately need when we're in our league position. So that's the main thing.
It was good. I had a good time. I enjoyed it, but compared to the last time we were there, we went. Mark and I went when it was the 6-0 game against Aberdeen, and it was great. I think maybe because it had maybe not long opened as Pioneers. But the service was fantastic that day, and you were, before you'd even finished your drink, there was another one there. But on Saturday, there was quite a long wait every time you asked for a drink, and then
and drinks just weren't coming. They just weren't coming.
And like you said, I think they were just poured. The pints were poured and then brought out as and when. So I don't know. It wasn't as good. We'll just need to wait and see, but see if we do it again. But
2 words, Liam. 2 words.
Won't be back.
Won't be back.
If you're listening, Mr. Kensel, get some more money spent. Get some more.
Do you know what the biggest problem today was? Quite clearly understaffed. Quite clearly understaffed. I went to Tynecastle Hospitality with my granddad the weekend before last, and they had about 3 or 4 waiters or waitresses per table, whereas this one, we barely had one in ours.
Yeah.
I know we did have one, but she left halfway through the shift. And then...
before it even started?
Yeah, she wasn't replaced. And then, you could just see one person was dealing with 3, 4, 5 tables, and it was just... Yeah. It was just a mess. Clearly,
it's got to be a stressful job for the people who are...
And it's not their fault. No, but it's not their fault, because they just needed more people. If there had been 2, 3 people per table, or for a big table, then there wouldn't have been a problem. It would have been easy.
I mean, what you can't complain about is the setting is fantastic. The seats that you get when you're out there are brilliant. The food was all right. I mean, as good as it can be. It was like a Christmas dinner sort of style. So if you don't like turkey, you're kind of up the pole. But
and the price though, the price is pretty scandalous for what it was. Again, I'm comparing it to Tynecastle because I was there with my granddad the other week. I think Tynecastle was £160, and obviously we're non-season ticket holders. For us, as a season ticket holder with a discount applied, I think it was
215,
and that was for not even a Category A game. So I can only imagine how much they're charging for derbies and the sort. But not good for the price, put it that way.
No, but well, I mean, we had a few jars. We got a win, which was the main thing. But Mark, we didn't start the game very well. I thought coming into this game that that it was a massive chance for us to put a little bit of daylight between us and a couple of teams at the bottom of the table. Maybe the pressure got a little bit too much for the players at the start of the game. We conceded an early goal. Are you thinking then, has this team kind of got the mettle to come back and make something of this game, or is that us down and out already?
Yeah, obviously they started really fast, and we were the exact opposite. And I think we looked a bit shell-shocked for that first half, with them going 1-0 up, and they piled on the pressure really early doors. And like I said, I just don't think we coped very well with that. And then you can see when you're a team that's down the bottom of the league really struggling, when something goes against you, that's when confidence starts to show. And I just felt you could clearly see it was a bunch still lacking a little bit of confidence, and when things weren't quite going our way, we just collapsed a little bit. And I know we'll talk about it more, but that's what I was most impressed with, was a bit of character. Like, we go down 1-0, we get back in at the end of the first half, and then you see players that have got a bit of charisma, like Yuan or Dwight Gale or Junior Hoylett, just trying things. Listen, it didn't always pay off, fair enough, but at least they were out there just trying things, even when things weren't going against us. So, yeah, poor first
You
half.
could kind of tell that throughout the first half there wasn't an awful lot of bright sparks, but I suppose Dwight Gale, Junior Hoylett, and Ellie Yuan were maybe the bright sparks. Genuinely, I say this. I feel like I say this every week, but the first half was a big fat load of nothing from a Hibs perspective. It was. I don't really think you can take anything away from Ross County. They obviously came with a game plan, and it worked up to a point. They really stifled us and kind of nullified any of our threats up until the stroke of half time. And you see the work that Junior Hoylett does on the right hand side, and then he obviously waits for the run of Dwight Gale in the middle, dinks the ball in, and it's so clever from Gale and Hoylett. Really, it's just kind of both of them showing their class, showing their experience, and it's players like that have got that experience that you need to step up in these moments.
Yeah, totally. And it's moments like that, it's touches of class like that get you back in games, that win you games, and that's why they're here. At the end of the day, I know they're at the tail end of their career, but they still have a lot to offer, and you can see that. I think, I don't think there'd be many people that would argue that Junior Hollett's been the best, if not one of the best players for Hibs this season. So, but I agree with you what you're saying. It was loads of nothing in the first half, and I don't think there was many Hibs fans that would say, we deserved to go in drawing the game. I think most people say we deserved to be losing the game at halftime, but it's just that touch of class, that real moment of quality that gets us back in, and I think that really set us up for the second half.
Absolutely. I mean, excuse me. You need to just kind of take what you can get when you're in our position, because I think if you're asking for performances and results, when you're down the bottom end of the table, you're going to get one or the other at the very best. So, I mean, if you'd asked me at the start of the game, would you rather put in a good performance and draw the game, or lose the game, or struggle through the game and end up taking the 3 points? You take the 3 points every day of the week. It's a results business at the end of the day. But second half, I think it's probably the best time for us to score right on the stroke of half time. It would certainly make David Gray's team talk a little bit easier.
I think the only thing that worries me is that first half. And again, I don't want to piss in the parade, because at the end of the day, we've scored 3 goals and we've got 3 points and we're laughing. But what worries me about that first half is, we just can't show up like that again or against anyone else, because no disrespect to them, but if we go to Tynecastle, for example, and play like that in the first half, or play Rangers or Celtic or whoever it might be, Aberdeen even, yeah, then the game's probably beyond us by the time it gets to halfway. We've obviously been fortunate that Ross County maybe don't have the quality up that front end of the park, and we've managed to kind of punish them in the stroke of half time. But I think it's maybe another lesson for David Gray, maybe, that we just kind of come out the blocks that slow again. Whether that means an adjustment to the warm up, to the pre-match team talk, to training, I don't know how he does it, what he's doing coaching wise, but I think it's maybe something that he can really show them on the lead up to the Aberdeen game and say, look, here's how we started against Ross County. It's the exact opposite of how we need to start against a side with quality like Aberdeen.
Yeah, I mean, it was, I mean, a 5.5, 6 out of 10 performance, really. And but I do feel like the team showed a fair bit of character, especially after Nicky Cadden misses that first penalty. Or does he miss it? Doesn't he miss it? It gets saved.
A poor penalty.
Yeah, it's a poor penalty. You can see that he's obviously trying to go down the middle, and the goalie's lucked out and managed to catch it with his toes. And I mean, if that's an inch to the goalie's right, to Cadden's left, and it's a goal. So I mean, I don't know if it's a poor penalty. I think it's just lucky from the goalie. But then Ross County give away another penalty straight away after. Did you have any complaints with either of the penalty shouts? I've actually just seen Dermot Gallagher talking about it on Sky Sports, saying that both of them, in his opinion, are penalties.
I think they were both. You could see it clear as day from where we were sat. I think the first one, I think as Dwight Gale sort of turning, you can clearly see he's pulling him back, and Dwight Gale falls. And then the second one, it's just a handful of jersey, and he's pulling him back again. It's absolute madness from the defenders, because look, VAR's been in place for what, a couple of years now, is it?
Yeah.
And you just know that you can't get away with stuff like that anymore, especially something that's clear and obvious like that. Fair enough, a wee tug here or a wee nudge there, but to literally pull him down, and then the second one to just grab his jersey and pull him back, for me, they're both absolute stonewall penalties, and both bookings. I think the referee gets them both right, 100%.
Yeah, I think, we talk about Dwight Gale's level of football IQ and his intelligence. The way that he kind of baits the Ross County defender into maybe tugging his shirt or trying to foul him and stuff. You can see that he's got the boy's arm tucked underneath his armpit, and after he's spun him, the boy gets a big handful of shirt. And again, you're just looking at that. He's a Premier League experienced striker. It's just what you need. And when you're down and out of your luck, and if you can get he scores goals like he scored in the first half, and he's drawn fouls to get penalties in the second half, he's probably going to very quickly become a really important player for us.
Yeah, and I think he has. Yeah, of course, those little moments of experience do count, but I think his quality is really starting to come through these last couple of weeks. I think obviously it's taken a bit of time, maybe to get match fit and maybe sort of gel with the squad a little bit, but he looks like he's starting to come in. I'm not saying he's going to be sort of starting every single week. We know at that age, you might pick up a knock here or there. You've got to manage your game time, but I definitely think he'll be important. And I think we always compare it to that sort of Adam Le Fondre role, who came in key moments and played well. The vast majority of times he was asked to. I think something like that. But he certainly looks like he's got loads more to offer.
Absolutely. And just touching on the second penalty, shows a good bit of bollocks from Elia to step up and convert with the stick that he's kind of been getting online recently. It was a really good opportunity for him to maybe shut a few doubters up. I mean, he nearly misses it, hits the post and goes in, but
it's a beauty of a penalty, an absolute beauty. I was absolutely certain that he was going to chip it.
Really?
I was certain he was it just screamed Yuan to, like, obviously with all the stick he's been getting and all that, to just step, and especially because we had just missed a penalty, for him to step up and just dink it down the middle. Like it just, I was absolutely adamant that's what he was going to do, but obviously maybe.
I would have loved it if he chipped them.
Mate, it would have been brilliant if he had scored, obviously.
Yeah.
But there's probably only one guy that would do that, that's got the bollocks to do that, and it's Yuan, 100%. But it's a beauty of a penalty. The ones that hit off the post and go in are always the best ones.
Yeah. I mean, it just kind of shows the level of character that he's at. David Gray spoke about in his post-match about character of the squad as a whole, but everything that's been going on with Yuan really since he signed permanently, to be honest, he's been a bit of a scapegoat for some supporters here and there in terms of like attitude and performance and stuff. I mean, sometimes you could probably put a couple of doubters and stuff on his performances, but I don't think his attitude's ever really been in doubt. I think he's just a kind of really nonchalant sort of guy. He's just that kind of really excitable and intense guy. But no, it shows great character for him to put in the performance that he did. Obviously, he scores a penalty, but what I think is even more impressive is the turn and assist for Josh Campbell's goal right at the end, when we looked like we were maybe going to concede an equaliser. It would have been peak Hibs to finish that game at 2-2 with a last minute Ross County equaliser. But thankfully, It comes back up the other end. Ellie Yuan does a really nice spin. Some might have thought it was a foul. I think that's what it went to VAR for, that we half challenge in the middle of the park. I didn't think it was a foul at all, but
I think you just need to look at the circumstance. Like if the defender is being that easily bullied off the ball by a wee winger like Yuan, he needs to maybe have a bit of a word with himself, because for me, it's never a foul. He's giving him a wee nudge, but that's football. It's a contact sport. You know what I mean? I don't see a problem with that. And he does brilliant. I think that wee ball into Campbell is so good. Like, a lot of players would have totally messed that up, but it's the perfect weight. Other players maybe would have shot or tried to take it into keeper or whatever, but it's the perfect timed pass, and it's easy for Campbell to finish that. And what I loved about it is, even after the penalty, after that assist, and once the full-time whistle went, you can see what it meant to Yuan. I think that's what's been questioned, that he doesn't really care, and he wants a move, and he's just not arsed about the fans of the club. But you can see what it means to him in his celebrations, with the penalty and after the game, and I think that's what you want to see. I'm not expecting him to be running about like Roy Keane and getting sent off every week in blood and thunder and all that.
It's not what he's about.
It's not what he's about, and I think it's a cultural thing. He's a laid back Frenchman. There's absolutely nothing wrong with that. So I think he just show us that passion and stuff, and I just think he's an easy scapegoat. I think players like him that are quite tricky and quick and all that, they're easy to criticise because they might be perceived as being lazy because they don't track back and all that kind of stuff.
Do you think that because of his ability and how good we know as a fan base that he can be, it maybe works against him when he has an off week? And you look at like a poorer performance and you go, oh well, he was shite today, and this, that, and the next thing. And people always go on about, oh, he's frustrating this, he's frustrating that, because you know how good he can be. It's not like he's going out there and giving 50%, 40%. If he's having an off day, he's having an off day. If he had 10 out of 10 performances every week, he wouldn't be playing at Hibs.
Yeah, and maybe that is the case, that he's a bit of a victim of his own success. Obviously, I think last season, what was it, 11 assists and 11 goals, something like that?
His return, I think I read somewhere now, I might be wrong, but I think he's got 39 goals and assists in his time at Hibs.
Which is, for what? How long has he been here?
Well, he came on loan at the start of the Lee Johnson season, so
2.5 seasons.
Aye, 2.5 seasons, yeah.
It's no
Which
bad.
isn't bad for someone who plays out in the wing.
And yeah, look, it might be a case that we know the ability he's got, so it's easy to say, oh, well, why do you not play that every week? But it's true. Like, if he did play that every week, he would be away for a few million quid. But I think he's one of these players that you need because he's always trying stuff. I mentioned it earlier. Look, it might not come off, and see, when it doesn't come off, it looks pretty terrible. He might pass the ball at the park, or he might give it away, or whatever he does. It doesn't look great, fair enough, but do you know what? He's always looking to do something. He's always looking to get in those attacking positions and take boys on, or slip the ball through, or do whatever he can. And you need boys like that. Otherwise, you end up with like a Nick Montgomery Hibs, where it's just mundane, passing the ball side to side and not really creating anything. So, look, I think he's one of them that we might miss him when he's gone. So let's just appreciate him while he's here.
I thought, especially for his assist to Josh Campbell, I mean, he's clean through there more or less. He's got a really good chance to score, and he's so selfless, and that's clearly him working for the betterment of the team and trying to get us the 3 points and get that over the line. You touched on there earlier on the celebrations after he scored his goal and after the game, just kind of underlines how much he actually does care about the club, and hopefully that'll start to change some people's minds, and because I mean, it has been easy to have digs at the players and stuff like that this season because we haven't been great, but hopefully this is maybe the start of a positive run that we've got coming up. But this is what David Gray had to say about the performance.
How we started the game was really poor. We came into the game towards the end of the second half though and showed at times where maybe just decision making or our final ball wasn't quite right. but we're still well below where we needed to be in terms of just competing at times. I thought we lost too many second balls. I thought we struggled to deal with them playing forward. The centre forward caused a lot of problems. So to go in 1-1, having played, knowing we can go up a lot in terms of level of performance was pleasing. It definitely helps with your team talk. Then you can look at how you can adjust things and tweak it to make us better, knowing we would get better because of the first half performance. And I think the players reacted well to that, because then you look at how the second half starts. We're on the front foot straight away, 3 or 4 good chances, probably should have took them, and then we get the penalties. Credit to then scoring the second one, because you know when you've just missed a penalty, it takes a lot of courage and bravery to step up again, and he dispatched it well, which was great. And then, like I say, the way the game ended, ideally I'd have liked to have killed the game off, but I also think in another way it actually shows, and it's a good thing for the players to have went through that again, for everyone in the stadium to have went through that again, to show and take the belief from holding out and going on and winning the game, and it looking 3-1 looks a lot more comfortable than it probably felt with 5 minutes to go, to be fair. So credit to everyone involved.
See, my main thing from whenever I hear David Gray speak is, oh my God, how fucking intense is that guy?
Yeah. It's like a drill sergeant, eh?
I know. I'd be fucking terrified if he was my manager. I really would be. But I mean, he's kind of. I don't want to say he's echoed what we've said here on the podcast, because that sounds like we're taking credit. We think that we've
echoed him.
Yeah, we've echoed him. But no, it's good that he sees that even though we won 3-1 and it looks like a much more comfortable scoreline on paper, the performance at times really it wasn't good enough. And but the main thing is we got over the line, we got 3 points. So we also sent ourselves up to 8th in the table on Saturday night before Kilmarnock kind of half did us a favour and half didn't do us a favour on Sunday. And you know, it's the highest that we've been in a long time. Maybe starting to look a wee bit more positive in terms of league position. It's still very tight in those spots, you know, beneath Celtic, Rangers and Aberdeen. But do you think that this could be a good stepping stone to where we want to be come the end of the season?
Yeah, I still think that we need to go and get a big result. And I'm not saying that beating Ross County isn't a big result. Ultimately, for Hibs, beating Ross County shouldn't be a big result. It should be pretty standard. Beating a St Johnstone, beating a Ross County, something like that. I think what we really need now is to go and prove that we deserve to be up that side of the table. And to do that, for me, it's beating Aberdeen, Dundee United, St Mirren, Hearts. I know Hearts, obviously. But it's winning something that we would say is a big game. We've come close, obviously. Aberdeen was a tight game. A lot of people say we deserve to win that. Dundee United, you know, there's twice this season that we really should have won the game away from home and at home. Both times, you know, we were just minutes away from seeing the game out. Obviously, we got that brilliant performance against Motherwell and brilliant result. But for me, I can see Motherwell really slipping away. It needs to be a big performance and a big statement win. And you know what? If we can go up to Pittodrie on Saturday and get a win, that for me is what you call making a statement. I think their start of season form has started to fade away. They've dropped a lot of points, and I don't want to say they're struggling. I wouldn't go that far, but it's a good opportunity for us to go on the back of a win. And if we can do that, that for me is then saying, right, let's start looking up rather than looking down if we can go and beat them.
Absolutely. And this is what David Gray had to say about the momentum that we're building with these good results that are coming during this busy period.
Yeah, absolutely. Like you said, 3 points on the board and an opportunity now to build some momentum going into a busy Christmas period.
Yeah, and I think that's been building since the Aberdeen game, to be honest. I think we talked about that. I've said loads of times now about it being so much more than just a point psychologically for the players and confidence-wise for the players. And the performance levels have been of a high level, apart from at times today. But we found a way to win the game today, which is always a really good recipe for success. Now we look at the busy period coming up. The next 4 games are all teams round about us, apart from Aberdeen, but we go up there. It'll be a tough test, but again, they're all looking forward to now off the back of 3 points, which definitely makes you feel better about yourself.
Obviously, he's he's trying to keep his feet on the ground. But do you agree with the comment that he made about the Aberdeen game at home, that the performances have maybe started to turn a little bit and the belief has started to kind of come back after that sort of more resilient performance?
Yeah, I think it has to, because I mean, I think everyone in that ground, including me, and I would imagine the players, when we conceded that goal late on, considering we had just equalised with a few minutes to go, it was another case of, here we are again. We've done well, we've got ourselves back in the game, we deserve to get something out of the game, and late on, it's all going to go away. There's been so many times this season where we've either had a point taken away from us or 3 points taken away from us, and it's really killed us, those late goals. So to somehow manage to salvage a point after being 3-2 down in the 95th minute, the only thing that can do is give confidence. The only thing it can do is build a bit of belief. And I think we obviously, since then, we've got 2 wins since that point. I think we beat Motherwell 3-0, and now we've beat Ross County 3-1. So those performances and those results, it just hopefully will just snowball. And like I said, if we can beat Aberdeen this weekend, I think that would be definitely a kickstarter for the season.
100%. It'd be a massive result. I mean, regardless of the fact that Aberdeen are kind of fading away a little bit. I mean, I don't really want to say fading away because they're still miles ahead of everyone else. But I mean, it would be a real statement, a statement of intent by David Gray and by the players if we went up there and came away with the 3 points, and it would be very, very important. I mean, and especially with the derby coming up on Boxing Day as well. If we can get a couple of wins going into that game, and then if we can take something from there and distance ourselves even further from, those DOS Diddy teams at the bottom of the table, it'd be pretty good. But what we'll do now, we will answer the listener questions.
Now it's time to answer the Hibs Ramble listener questions.
Okay, Mark, so first off, John McIntosh. Christ, what a bad game, but a win, so who cares? What's for dinner?
I had chorizo pasta. It was like a sort of mascarpone sauce. Pretty good.
Sounds nice.
It's pretty good.
And I've got a dry throat tonight, by the way. I don't know what I'm having for dinner yet because I'm just in the door from work before jumping on the pod. But I can tell you what I had for my lunch. I also had a chorizo and bacon tomato pasta that was left over from last night's dinner.
Can I beat a bit chorizo? It's absolutely
which was excellent, and Megan made it last night, and I tell you what, it was superb.
Fair play, Megan.
Absolutely superb. Fair play, Megan. Love her or hate her, you've got to respect her. That's the main thing. Billy says, first half was once again diabolical. Second, much better. Yuan shut a lot of doubters up today, showed with his performance and attitude that he still very much cares and wants to do well. Kind of what we said earlier on. A lot of these are about how bad the first half was. We must have just been pissed.
We were really shit the first half, and it was just dull. Nothing much happened. It was just a typical what we've come to expect over the last few years from Hibs. Just nothing really happening. Very passive, very tippy tappy shite. Like just a lot of
that. Yeah. Mark Loftus says we were good against Celtic and got hee-haw. Third game in 4 that we've scored 3 goals, which is encouraging. And that's something that we've actually not spoke about. For a side that was struggling to score goals for a long time this season, that is 9 goals in 4 games.
Yeah, pretty impressive.
Which is decent.
Yeah, and we just need to carry it on. I think what we're really missing, you could say, is just that real consistent goal scorer.
Yeah.
Because, if you look at those goals that we've scored, I think they've all been fairly different goal scorers. I've never actually looked into it, but we've had
Yeah, well, I actually spoke about this on last week's pod, that we've not got someone who's, running away with, leading the goal charts. And we don't really even have a specific area of the pitch that's always chipping in with goals, which I thought was a little bit of a concern. But, if we're scoring 9 goals in 4 games and we're picking up 7 points out of possible 12, then, we're clearly doing something right. And
Yeah, and
that's-
look,
that's amazing.
it doesn't matter, Like, if you're scoring goals, you're scoring goals. It doesn't matter where they're coming from. I think the thing for me is that consistency. It's like, is that just a little bit of luck these last few weeks that we've managed to get the right players in the right positions and they've managed to get a goal out of it? Whereas if you see somebody scoring consistently, every week or every other week, you know that there's something fundamentally going right for them to be getting the right balls in and getting the goals.
Yeah.
But
definitely.
look, who am I to say anything? If we keep scoring week in, week out, it doesn't matter if it's the same score or if it's
Exactly.
varied
I couldn't
score,
care.
as long as
I couldn't
as long
care.
as we're getting the goals.
Absolutely. Next up, Rab says, as a great warrior and philosopher once said, I am very feel. Pretty sure he said moan the cabbage tea. I'm not really too sure if there's a question in there, Rab, but I do enjoy the reference to Usyk Fury, which, if you don't know, is on Saturday.
Who's your money on?
I'd probably say Usyk, to be honest.
Yeah.
I think he'd be daft to look past Alexander Usyk.
Yeah, the thing
Really?
is, though, we've written the big man off before. We've written Big Fury off before against Wilder and against
Yeah.
Klitschko and against all these boys, so you never know.
This is it. Yeah, I mean, obviously Fury's a great fighter, but he's coming up against Usyk, who he'd never really fought anyone like Alexander Usyk before. So
Yeah.
maybe he'll have a bit more of an idea of how the fight's going to pan out. But Usyk kind of had him on toast last time, eh?
Yeah, Usyk's had everyone on toast that he's fought, basically.
Yeah.
But it's just a shame. It's just what could have been 10, well, maybe not as much as 10 years ago, but 5, 6, 7 years ago, if Fury and Joshua fought each other in their primes when they were both undefeated. That would
I
have been
still
the
think
biggest.
Fury wins that fight, though.
It would have been the
Against a
biggest
prime
British
Joshua,
fight
prime
of
Fury,
all
prime
time.
Joshua.
But it never happened. And now that if they do fight, it just isn't going to mean as much. It will still be the biggest British fight of all time, I would imagine, but
Yeah.
it just isn't going to mean as much. But
I mean,
hey-ho.
Anthony Joshua's stocks went well down, wasn't it?
Yeah, he's had a few defeats now. I just think he's lost that aura that you get when you're an undefeated boxer. Like before he
Yeah.
got beat off Ruiz, it was like he always kind of looked unbeatable. Like people thought he was unbeatable, and that
Yeah.
loss against Ruiz was like a massive, massive shock.
Especially because Ruiz, he came in fairly last minute, didn't he? Because the other guy pulled out. It was was it Hungarian fella that pulled out?
I think so. But if you look, it's funny though. It always seems to happen to fighters, whether it's like MMA or boxing. It's like as soon as they lose their first fight, it's like something about them completely changes. It's like a lot of them just can't ever recover from
a
it.
lot of the
and they
motivation.
just,
is lost.
they go downhill and they just, I don't know, they just never quite be able to.
Do you know, I think it's different for MMA though, because they're fighting so much more regularly.
Yeah, no, the O in MMA is obviously nowhere near as important, but there's been times before, even in MMA, where there's been somebody that's like, they just seem unbeatable, and they go on like maybe a 10-fight win streak or something, and then they lose one, and then they just, like, look at Tony Ferguson, for example.
Yeah,
he was on a ridiculous
exactly.
win streak, and then he got beat once, and I think he's on like a 10-fight loss streak. It just, like, something about it changes, and I think
Same
in
way
boxing,
Max Holloway as well. Max Holloway was like that.
Yeah, boxing, it just seems to be a lot more intense with that. Like, the O is so important.
Yeah.
But anyway, this isn't the fighting ramble. This is the Hibs Ramble.
It absolutely is the Hibs Ramble. And next up is Gav Dick. And he says, to be fair, I probably didn't feel like a 3-1 game. Yuan was very good today, unlucky at points as some things weren't coming off. But he persevered and he was unlucky not to get 2 assists along with his goal. Was the keeper off his line for Nicky Cadden's penalty? It looked like it to me. To be honest, Gav, I don't know. I don't care. And does it really matter? Probably not.
I think they might have checked it. I think they might have checked it on VAR for encroachment.
I can't remember.
I'm sure they checked it for encroachment, and it obviously wasn't given. So
yeah. Next up, Fats Prickus just asks, how good are the Hibs? And I can 100% confidently say, we are fucking back, baby!
We are so back. We are so fucking
back as fuck. I tell you that for nothing. Stephen Bell. First half was arguably as poor as we've been all season, and County probably should have been further ahead. Second half, we did see an improvement, but my worry would be that any better opposition in County still win that game fairly comfortably. Far better required for the next 2 games. Again, just kind of what we've said, like if you're coming up against better opponents who are more likely to hurt you, with all due respect to Ross County, if you're coming up against these teams who have got, more informed goal scorers and, faster wingers, it maybe is going to be a little bit more of an issue. But, when you're up against these teams who've got better players, I think subconsciously and subliminally, you raise your levels yourself.
Yeah.
So, I mean, we're not going to find that out until we play Aberdeen on Saturday and then Hearts on Boxing Day. So, not that Hearts are better than us or better opposition or bottom of the league, but
Nah, I totally agree. Absolutely, 100% agree that there is like a natural, and it's true. I mentioned it earlier. Like, if we play like that against somebody else, they'll punish us. But what you said is absolutely, I would agree with it in the sense that if you're playing against a better team, naturally the intensity does lift, and it's a bit easier to get motivated for it. You look at a game like Ross County at home when the atmosphere is maybe not electric and people maybe can't be bothered being there. As terrible as that sounds, maybe that's where it comes from. But against an Aberdeen at Pittodrie where the atmosphere will be really good, or a Derby or whatever, whoever we're playing, I think that intensity lifts naturally. So I probably wouldn't worry about that first half going into the next few weeks.
Yeah. A lot of the other comments and stuff are about how poor the first half was and second half was a bit better. This one caught my eye. It's from Lorne, and he says Danny Waddle says Colin is shite at football.
Danny Waddle, aye. He was at hospitality as well.
I think he's talking about my dad there, and he would be absolutely right. Colin is shite at football.
We used to play together on a Wednesday. Me, Daniel,
yes.
my brother, and your dad.
A massive game. A massive game it was.
A huge derby game on it every Wednesday.
Absolutely. Dean Salim says, is it just me or does Triantis always look like the weak link? Is it just Dean?
Do you know what? I did make a few comments about Triantis at the weekend there, and the jury's still out for me, to be honest, because his second touch is a tackle 9 times out of 10. Like, his first touch is abysmal. And the amount of times he loses the ball in that space, I think, does he have something to offer? I think we've seen before where he does have good games, but he does kind of worry me in that position just by how often he gives the ball away. And in that area of the park, if you give it away, you're almost in front of the defence at that point. So, yeah.
What's then Nathan Mariah Welsh got to do to get a game ahead of him if he's not performing to the standard that we expect?
Yeah, I don't know. We obviously don't see what happens in training and all that, and maybe he's just not impressed David Gray. I don't know. I don't know what it is. I think, I've not been overly impressed with Triantis or Quan, to be honest with you. I think they're both very similar in the sense that both of them lose the ball far too often. Both of their first touches are shocking, and they're just quite clumsy. I think there's maybe a player in Triantis, but I seen somebody, I can't remember who it was, online, made a really good comment about, last season we said that Triantis is never a defender. Are we now getting to the territory of he's never a holding midfielder? He's never a centre midfielder. So now it's like, well, what is he? Like, where is his strength?
Stick him in nets.
So I think it's telling that, Hibs made him, I think, one of their main priorities to sign. I don't know if it was their number one. I think it might have been quite close to number one.
Well, that's what they said in like the transfer window wrap up, that Triantis was always on the radar and someone who they were after for quite a lot of the window. And you'll maybe remember when we spoke to Malky Mackay and Ben Kensel on that at Easter Road, that they said that they tried to get Triantis in early doors, but they couldn't manage it. But I think if you're looking at Nectar Triantis as one of your top targets and someone who you're going to be chasing after the whole window, you're maybe on a wee bit of hiding to nothing. I like Triantis, I do, but I think that we need better, and it maybe tells a tale of how poor the summer window really was on reflection when you look at where we are now.
Yeah. I don't want to go as far as saying that like I'm not a fan of his, but yeah, definitely the jury's still out for me. And far too often have I just been frustrated with just that's for me the biggest letdown is just when the ball comes into him in midfield, his first touch, the amount of times that he just gives the ball away because a poor first touch is criminal for a professional footballer. That's your bread and butter. I'm not saying he has to be like Zidane in there, but like Ken, just get the ball under control
Just get a
and
wee
then
bit
get
more
rid of it.
composed.
Just do the simple thing and
Yeah.
defend. Play
I
that
think
role
that's the main thing. The way if you're playing in that area of the park, it's not about the World Cup ball. It's not about beating players 3-4 times over. It's about getting the ball on the deck, making your passes, making them accurate, and breaking up attacks. So that for me is what's important, and maybe he just needs it drilled into him a little bit more. I don't know.
Yeah, it'll be
Next
interesting to
up,
see how David Gray plays that position because obviously Quan
yeah.
seems to have dropped out of favour. Mariah
Mhm.
Welsh can't really get a look in, and I don't think Triantis looks brilliant or hasn't looked brilliant. So yeah, it'll be
But
interesting.
with our fortunes starting to turn around, hopefully, fingers crossed, we might see these players maybe play with a little bit more confidence and a wee bit more freedom that we haven't seen from them in games where we've been really, really poor. But next up, and I'm going to give this one to you because this really doesn't apply to me at all. Liam Riley says, what does Josh Campbell have to do or change about his game to change the opinion of a fan base that doesn't really rate him? Now, I want to go on record now and say Josh Campbell 2025 Ballon d'Or, question mark. Because I love him. I think he's a brilliant player and is the kind of player that we need at the club. But, Mark, I know your opinion is slightly different on Josh Campbell, maybe not as enthusiastic about him as I am. What has he got to do to change people's opinions?
Be better.
He scores goals, though. He scores goals.
Does he?
Well,
he scored. He had a stint. He had a stint. Last season when he scored a fair few goals.
Let me find the tweet because I think it was Billy that tweeted it with his stats.
Look, you can't take away from the fact that he's got like a decent scoring record, which is fair enough. But I don't know. For me, it sounds stupid to me saying, "Oh, he doesn't do enough when he's got a half decent goal scoring record." Fair enough, but I just don't think he's good enough to be in that midfield. He doesn't offer enough. He's not quick. He's not got a brilliant pass. He's not strong. He just doesn't have enough to be in there. And fair enough, he might pop up with the occasional goal. And you know what? I can't take that away from him. That's fair enough. But
well, you might be surprised about this. 122 games, 17 goals and 15 assists.
Yeah, fair
so
enough.
I mean, it's a fairly good return. That's over 30 GA in 122 games, and you think about the vast majority of those games at the start would have been games off the bench. So, and I think, I mean, a lot of his games probably are games off the bench. Do you think he maybe gets it a little bit more tight because he's Hibs through and through?
Maybe. I think he gets it tight because there's just too often in games where he's not there, he's not doing anything. And I think it's all well and good sort of popping up with goals and assists, and that's brilliant. I think the reason he does get criticised maybe a lot is because a lot of the time he's maybe not seemed to be doing enough on the park. And I think that's the matter of it. He's not doing enough on the pitch. But do you know what? His goals and assist record is good. So if he can carry that on, then fair enough. I want him to succeed. I want him to do well. I'm not saying I'm like his biggest critic or anything like that. Like if he's playing, I'm not going to be shouting and screaming. But there's just too often in games where I find he goes missing. But so does Joe Newell. Joe Newell goes missing vast majority of the time, and I don't think his record touches Campbell's goals or assist record.
Well, not in terms of goals anyway. Joe Newell's nowhere near 17 goals for Hibs. I think he's maybe like 4 or 5.
And he's played a hell of a lot. Like he plays a hell of a lot more than Josh Campbell as well. So yeah. Look, if he gets a running team, great. I hope he's good. It's always good to have a homegrown talent in the team, and if he can pop up with goals and assists, that's what we need. So we'll
What
see.
you can't complain about is his XC, his expected celebrations on Saturday, because he whapped at about 6 of them after he scored. Have you seen the video from behind the goal?
Nah.
After he scores the goal, so he runs up to the Hibs fans and he makes some sort of gesture to them. I think it's like a heart with his fingers or something. And then he's wheeling away with his arm in the air like Shearer, and then he goes Cole Palmer, and then he does Ken the Chill Guy celebration. He just puts his hands like in his shorts. Oh man, top guy. You cannot complain about that.
Yeah,
But,
and I think as well, with the last thing about Josh Campbell, and it might be another reason why he maybe gets a lot of people being critical, is I think games like Ross County really suit him. Do you know, another game that I think really suited him was the game where we beat Celtic 4-2. Games that are a bit hectic and that are a bit all over the place and rely on busyness, and there's no real, I don't know, it's not like a chess match. There's no real tactics to the game. It's just a mad, chaotic game. I think that's when Josh Campbell is at his best, because he zips about, he runs about, and he's just involved in the chaos.
Yeah.
See, when it's a little bit more, you're trying to break a team down. They've got a few men behind the ball, and you're just trying to break them down. It's one of maybe the lesser teams, and you're relying on a bit of something, a bit of creativity.
Someone to pick a lock. He's not that kind of player.
Yeah, that's where I think
people expect him to do that.
But the thing is, though, the vast majority of the time, that's what if we want to get to a level where we are sort of up there in the league, we'll be on top of these smaller teams, and they will sit with a load of men behind the ball. And it's games like that where you need a player that can unlock a defence.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's why Josh Campbell struggles a lot, is because when we are on top and we are trying to break a team down, which we have been a lot this season, even though we are where we are, there's been loads of times this season where we have been on top and we've been trying to break down. But see, when it's chaos and it's just all over the shop, I think Josh Campbell is really good. And that's where he'll get his goals and assists from in games like that. So, yeah, I think that's probably the answer as to why he's got a lot of critics, because in those games, it's quite telling and it's quite obvious that Josh Campbell stands out as being quite poor.
Yeah.
But, yeah, I don't know.
100%.
Good luck to him. I hope he does. I hope he breaks in, and I hope he does well.
Last couple of questions aren't actually about football or Hibs at all. Harvey Scott, and I know that you never saw this because you were at Sam Fender last night, which I actually saw that he's cancelled the rest of his tour because he's like ruptured his vocal cords.
He said that he had the flu last night, and I think because he had the flu and he was singing, and you know how he sings. I think he's done something.
Did you enjoy it anyway?
It was brilliant.
It sounded like you enjoyed it on the videos that you put in the group.
It was brilliant. It was really good. Really enjoyed it.
Yeah, I've seen Sam Fender once actually. Before he got big, you know what I mean? It wasn't by mistake. I went to go and see Blossoms, and he was supporting Blossoms, and I didn't really pay attention. I was just like, oh, that guy's got a song on FIFA. And then he got massive, like really quickly. I'd love to go and see him, but I've just not been able to. But right, so Harvey says, back on to Harvey's question, he says, who's winning the Darts World Championships? And also, if you saw the stuff around Cameron Menzies, do you think there should be more protection for sports players in general? Now, I know we spoke about this in the group chat last night, but if you're listening to this and saying, who's Cameron Menzies, what happened? It seemed as if he got a bit emotional on stage at the Darts World Championships last night during his match with the guy's name forgets me, the American bloke. Got a bit emotional. The crowd were giving him a wee bit of stick. I don't know if that comes under protection. I just think darts crowds can be a bit leery at times, to be honest.
I think it's part of the parcel. If you can't cope with it, you shouldn't be a professional. It's like saying when a football player goes on the park, do we need to protect them from abuse from the stands? It's like, no, like it's unless it's something like racist or something that's illegal, then yeah, absolutely. But if it's just abuse, or if it's just banter or whatever, Like, for me, it's no different to any other professional that's in a sport. It's part of the parcel. You see Luke Littler, I know the crowd's on his side mostly, but he plays up to it. Like, he actually thrives on that sort of environment, and that's where the best come. If you thrive in an environment like that, you're going to be the best.
I know that the darts crowd can get a bit boisterous, and you have a drink and you have a good knees up and stuff, and maybe you're not expected to behave as an upstanding member of society, but you can maybe, take it upon yourself to maybe look and see if a guy's struggling up there on the stage, then maybe just didn't go for him. Maybe just didn't keep going for him. But to answer the first part of your question, Harvey, who's winning the Darts World Championship? Mark, who do you think?
I think maybe Luke Humphries.
I was going to say Humphries as well. He was really good last year, wasn't he?
I think obviously Luke Littler will be up there in terms of favourites, but I still think Humphries is the best.
Yeah. Cool hand.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, Littler did well last year and obviously got to the final and stuff. But
I think everyone will be rooting for him, and like I said, the crowd does play a big part, because 9 times out of 10, like, see, when whoever he's playing, the crowd will like boo and whistle and all that when the other player's stepping up.
yeah,
But I think the only player that can properly deal with that is, like, unbelievably, Luke Humphries. I think he just goes up and that's why he's called Cool Hand. But, like, he's just the only player that can deal with that, like, constantly, and just
seems like he likes it. Thrives.
He's brilliant. He's really good. I think it'd be good. Honestly, I think it'd be good for the sport if Luke Littler won it, because I think he's the star boy, isn't he? He's like the most famous darts player overnight.
I mean, you're still remembering he's how old is he now? 17.
17 now.
So I mean, if he'd won it last year, it would have been mental. If he wins it this year at 17, it's still going to be an incredible achievement.
Yeah, it's I
Nice to
mean,
see him win it, but just want to see some good home run darts. You know what I mean?
Yeah, he's just full of confidence, isn't he? But
Yeah.
I'm still going to go with Humphries, but we'll see.
Well, I'll go Littler then. I'll go opposite for you.
Like Gary Anderson, be good to see him winning it.
Chances, but
I thought he'd shit.
I thought he'd shit. If I farted on stage, it was smelly.
Nah, he's been in good form. But
yeah.
he is brilliant.
Dean Salim asks another question. This is also about the darts, and he says, and I think we might be able to have a wee bit of fun with this because the other three aren't here. If you all had to have darts names, what would they be?
Oh God, that's a good question.
I think Craig would maybe be like One-Eyed Willie. We'll go Craig One-Eyed Willie Leach.
God, I don't know.
Ryan, something about being a criminal or something.
What would yours be?
I don't know.
Mine's would, do you know what? I'd probably be something like really generic, like Dynamite Duncan or something like that. Do you know what I mean? Like, just something pure generic as fuck.
I know. I think you've probably got the best surname for it though. Like
that's the only one I can think of off the top of my head. That sounds like a darts name, doesn't it?
Yeah. Marc Dynamite Duncan. You require 32. I don't know what I would. I don't know what I'd be. Fuck knows. Hoagie.
Magnificent McLennan.
It's a bit shite though, isn't it?
What's Luke the Nook?
I mean, my name doesn't really lend itself very well to a darts name. I think if I took up professional darts, I'd probably need to legally change my name.
Dynamite Duncan for me.
I think Dynamite Duncan's a good one.
That's generic and shite, but it sounds like one of those generic shite darts names that would actually exist. What would be here's another one. What would be your walkout music?
Oh, I thought about this so many times, by the way. And the one that I like, do you think it would differ from the walkout music you would have if you were a boxer? Would you have the same song or would you have a different song?
I feel like for darts, it needs to be something that people would sing along to, Whereas boxing, it would be something that just gets people buzzing.
Yeah. Because for boxing, I've always thought about this. Like, if I was a boxer and I come out, I think it would be All the Lights by Kanye West.
Oh, I bet you think about this in the shower and that, walking with your hood up, like coming out.
I think about. I was on the bus this morning and I was like, fucking dude, and I was like,
shadow boxing on the bus and that.
driver was fucking terrified, mate.
Oh,
For
funny.
darts though, it's different. It's a bit more difficult, eh? Ken, what I like at the moment is YMCA. I'd maybe come out to that. That'd be a good one. What about you?
I don't know for boxing. See, if it was for boxing, it would be DX. Do you know the DX song from WWE? For darts, I don't know. It would have to be something that just proper gets people off their seats.
Get
like
some going.
Luke Littler's one's good, isn't it? Pitbull.
Oh, that's class, man.
That's something like that is good.
And Stephen Bunton's as well when he comes out to Titanium. Like David Guetta. I seen a video of him like singing it to the crowd. I was like, this guy's.
Oh man, I don't know. Does anyone? What about All About Tonight by Pixie Lott?
That would be a good one.
That would be an alright one, eh?
The night is a night, you can feel your heartbeat. It's actually a good tune, that. To be fair.
Yeah. Maybe go with that one, or Chasing Pavements by Adele.
Or like, it came up instead of Chasing Pavements by Adele. Rolling in the Deep would be a good one as well, eh?
Yeah, that would get them really buzzing.
There's a fire starting in my heart. Or Do You Believe in Life After Love? That would be, if we were playing as a tag team, that would surely have to be what me and you came out to. But let us know in the comments on Twitter or Instagram or whatever what your darts or boxing walkout music would be. And just before we go, Mark, we've obviously chatted a little bit about Aberdeen and spoke about how it's a really good opportunity to maybe capitalise on a little bit of form that we're having against an Aberdeen side who are fading away a little bit. But just very quickly, I've got a blind ranking for you. Now, I hope you remember how blind ranking works, but if you're listening along and you don't know how it works, I've got 5 players in front of me. And I'll tell them to Mark, and he's got to rank them from 5 to 1, worst to best, without knowing who's coming next. So, without further ado, Mark, are you ready for your first player?
Go on then.
Your first player is Fraser Fivey.
Ooh. I'll go with 4.
4. Next player, Scott Brown.
Ooh. Just for Hibs? Or career?
I mean, well, you can kind of take into consideration whatever you like. Whatever you like.
I'm just going to go purely for Hibs' career. So I'll say 2.
Next up, Flo Canberry.
Flo Canberry. I'll put him in the middle.
Don't forget what he did to us.
Yeah, I'll put him at 3.
3. Kevin Nisbet.
Oh man, fuck.
So you got 1. I think you got 1 and 5 left.
I know you'll have somebody shite at the last one. I'll go Kevin Nisbet 1.
So coming in at number 5, your most hated Hibs and Aberdeen player is Dylan McGeoch.
Oh man.
Would you change it round?
Yeah, 100%.
So you've got there Fraser Fivey, Scott Brown, Flo Canberry, Kevin Nisbet, and Dylan McGeoch. I've now got 5 categories that I want you to sort them into. So the first one is, which of those 5, and once you've said them, you can't use them again. So which of those 5 would you trust to score a penalty to save your life?
Flo Canberry was alright at penalties, was he not? Did he
Scored
take
one against
penalty?
Hearts at Tynecastle. if I remember correctly.
I'll say Flo Canberry.
Next one is to back you up in a fight, to give you handers.
Oh, Scott Brown, man. Scott Brown all day.
Next, have a night out with.
Who have I got? Fraser Fyvie, Dylan
You've
McGeoch.
got Fraser Fyvie, Kevin Nisbet, and Dylan McGeoch left.
God, I don't think any of them would be good for a night out, to be honest with you. I'll go Fraser Fyvie.
Fraser, I probably would have gone Dylan McGeoch because he was always injured and he wouldn't need to go home early.
He sounds and looks a bit boring and dull, does he not? He's the type of guy that would go out and just drink water all night or something.
So you'd have a night out with Fraser Fyvie. The next one is, who would you back to get booked in 90 minutes? Between Kevin Nisbet and Dylan McGeoch.
It's a tough one. I'll go with Kevin Nisbet. He's a bit fiery.
I would have went Kevin Nisbet as well.
He's a bit fiery up there, isn't he?
Yeah. And so you're backing Dylan McGeoch again. Dylan McGeoch's your last pick. You've obviously got a wee bit of agenda against wee Dylan McGeoch here, but he is someone who you would back to win in a Hibs quiz versus Craig.
No, definitely not.
Yeah.
I don't think any of them would win in a Hibs quiz.
No, I don't think so either. So let us know who you would put in those categories, or who would be your ranking from 5 to 1 in Fraser Fyvie, Scott Brown, Flo Canberry, Kevin Nisbet, and Dylan McGeoch. But all that's left from me to say is a very big thank you to you, Mark, for joining me this evening. It's been a pleasure chatting to you.
Thank you for having me.
Oh, always, mate. Always. Thank you for listening. If you've got this far, remember to give us a follow on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and on TikTok as well. Subscribe to us on YouTube if you haven't already. We're getting quite close to 500 subscribers. We're also getting very close to 2,000 followers on Twitter as well. So if you don't already follow us on there, head over and catch us at the Hibs Ramble and see if we can hit 2,000 followers by the end of the year. It would be pretty cool. But yeah, thank you very much for listening, and we will catch you. We'll maybe catch you after the Aberdeen game. We'll just need to see how time is in terms of Christmas and stuff. But if not the Aberdeen game, then we'll definitely talk to you after the derby. But until then, cheery bye.
Adios.
Let's get ready to rumble.